Hello tech enthusiasts, welcome back to Cloud with Dave. And this project will be building a CI/CD pipeline using Amazon CodePipeline, connecting a GitHub application and deploying on Elastic Beanstalk. So it's a Node.js application on GitHub, and then we'll also be doing some tests with Amazon CodeBuild, and we're deploying to two different environments, a development environment and a production environment. And before it actually goes to production, there'll be a manual approval process, which is important, especially for production workloads. So this is the architecture. You can see the flow. This is the console, and firstly I'll be showing you the JS application, and you can see it here. This is where I have it, and we'll have the index, your HTML file, and some other important files. And I'm creating the Elastic Beanstalk application right now. So it's a web server environment, and I'm just going to call it Cloud Dev Portfolio. And so the first environment will be a development environment. I'll leave the domain blank, it would generate that. And as I said, it's a Node.js application, and I'll just leave the platform version. I think this is the only one there. And for now, I'll just be generating the sample application and single instance free tier eligible, just because it's a demonstration and to save costs. So next, so here the service role. So I already have an Elastic Beanstalk service role here, but if you don't, or if you are just starting fresh, you can just simply create one here and allow Amazon Elastic Beanstalk to assume that role. So instance profile, I have one EC2 instance profile here that I'll also be using, but if you don't, just come here, create one, refresh this, and it's going to appear here. And basically you would give it important policies that allow your EC2 instances to perform required operations. In this case, we don't need much, but usually you can also verify, or let me show you the rows I have here so you can get a view of what you might need to configure and have in your as the row you are creating. I think that should make it easier for you, especially if you are doing this afresh. So I'm going to come to rows. So I have Elastic Beanstalk service role. And there are two permission policies here. The AWS Elastic Beanstalk has health, and Elastic Beanstalk manage updates customer role policy. So these are AWS managed roles, and you can just search for them. If you've not created and you want to add, so you can attach policies and just search for Elastic Beanstalk. So you can see the Elastic Beanstalk roles, and then attach the ones that you saw me, so that I have here. I'm just going to cancel this, and also there is let me come back to rows, EC2. So I also have this EC2, and it just shouldn't be administrator access though. But basically, created that one has been created and has been there for a while, so I just decided to use it here. So I'm not going to attach a key pair. I'm just going to skip to review and then create. So while this is on, I actually want to create another environment. This is dev. I'm going to come back to applications, open this, and create a second environment. So that's dev, right? The next one would be prod, and platform once again is Node.js. Leave this sample application, single instance, next, and close this. So same thing. Same service row, same instance profile, leave keep. Sorry, I wanted to skip to review. But basically, I'm not configuring networking database. I'm not configuring traffic. I'm not configuring updates, monitoring, and logging. Just to keep it simple. Skip to review, and then create. So the environments are being created. Let me come and check if the other one is done. Come back to applications, add dev. I'm going to close this, refresh this, and yes, we have a domain. So it's not done yet. So I'm just going to have to wait a couple of seconds or maybe minutes and keep refreshing, pending. So right now, environment is successfully launched. So if I come here and I refresh, I should be able to see, this sample application that we have. So also going to check for this is the dev environment. Let me come back to application and see if prod is up. Let me close this, refresh. Okay, still not up, still pending. But while that is going on, I'm going to come to CodePipeline and start the pipeline creation process. So I'm building a custom pipeline. I click on next. So this is cloud with dev portfolio application. This is a very long name. So I'm going to leave it as queued, which is the execution mode. Create a new service role, which we are going to modify to grant access to Elastic Beanstalk and code deploy. So let me see if there's any. No, leave this as default location, managed key, next. So we have our source, and our source is GitHub via GitHub application. So right now I have some connections existing, but just so you see how everything works, connect to GitHub. And then you can put a connection name, so new git connection, and click connect to GitHub. So basically you have to enter your credentials for it to synchronize your application. So install a new application. So this is my account, my GitHub account. I click on configure, and I'm going to just use my passkey. So this is here, and I'm just going to click on connect. I'm going to find the repository, which is the Node.js portfolio application main, and output artifact format is the default, enable retry, and leave this, and I'm going to click next. So there's a build stage for tests, and I'm going to use CodeBuild. Actually, let me not call it a build. Let me skip this. It's actually just test with CodeBuild, and leave the input artifact. And I'm going to create a project. And close this. Okay, create a project. So this is Node.js portfolio test, and it's just a default project. Let me show you some of the things you might need to configure. So we're not enabling public build access, leaving that. So it's a managed image container with Amazon Linux, so standard image. So we're creating a new service rule, timeout, privileged. So I think okay, let me just leave it for vCPUs, although no, so it's enough. I'm not doing anything major. So Docker server configuration, leave that on. Then we'll be using a build spec file, which is on the root directory as it's supposed to be. So batch configuration, I'll leave that. CloudWatch logs, and continue to CodePipeline. So we should see the project create here. Just going to wait a couple of seconds for that to complete. Cancel this first. Okay, so I think I can close this now because successfully created this. So it's going to be a single build, and I'm just going to click on next. I'll be deploying to Elastic Beanstalk. Yes, North California. Leave the source artifacts, and we have this application. Well, deploying first to development, and then next, and create pipeline. So let me make sure I have, so this is actually dev, and once the pipeline is created, we're going to watch the sample application change to my actual application. So this is going to take a while. It's going to connect the source. We can see that's in progress. Okay, so that's the source has been connected. GitHub via GitHub application, we can see that. And enhance readme with project. Blah, 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 blah. So I think that's just some information got from the GitHub. So that was the last commit notification here. Expanded readme to detailed project overview. I think that's what we have here. Enhanced readme with project deployment. Okay, I think expanded readme to detailed project overview. So it's got that from GitHub. So the test, and yes, we have a deployment issue, and we check that. We're going to see why, which is, let me close this. It's actually because of the rule. So we actually need to add an Elastic Beanstalk rule for it to be able to, for the code pipeline to be able to work with Beanstalk. So yes, I'm going to show you how that is done. We'll come to the service role ARN, and we're going to add some extra permissions. So I have these permissions already created, and I'm going to attach a policy beanstalk. So I'm just going to add this administrator access, although of course you need more stringent or more strict permissions on real life actual use cases. So I've added CodePipeline. So if I come back to policy was successfully attached. So if I release the change, so it's going to try that again. And I could have just retried this stage from here, but just so you see the flow from the beginning. And something I want to point out here, we actually have an automatic role created, or some automatic policies created for us, granting access to S3 bucket because there is some artifacts are stored on S3. So that's one. The second one is access to CodeBuild. When we integrated the CodeBuild stage for testing, it automatically created some permissions and updated it for us. And the code connection, using code stack connection for GitHub access to the application here. So coming back, we have deployment in progress. So this is all actions succeeded. So if I come here and I refresh, we should see the magic happen. So I'm going to refresh this, and yeah, we have it. This is my portfolio, and you can see services, professional services, expertise, cloud platforms, AI, ML programming, security, content, data tools. So this is my technical expertise, some of my projects, some places where I put some content out. I have a YouTube channel which you're actually watching right now. And just for fun, let me open it. So you can actually see my YouTube channel connected from my portfolio application and some of my previous videos. All I can say, it's been a ride. So that's that. My LinkedIn is also here. You can connect with me. Let me open that in a new tab. So we've been able to deploy to a development environment. But if we come here and we look at the production environment and I open the domain, we are still going to see the previous or the sample application. So this is still just the sample application. So I'm going to come back to my pipeline and do some modification to the pipeline. So I'm going to edit the pipeline. And I'm going to add a new stage. I'm going to call it deploy to production. Add stage. And I'm going to add an action group deploy, and this is going to be Elastic Beanstalk. So leave this artifact, same application, but a different environment, which is now the production. So I'm going to click on done. So I have the deploy, but I want to also add a manual approval. Action provider is just a manual approval. So I actually have an SNS topic here. So maybe I'll just click it so we can actually see notifications that we would get. Although this SNS topic wasn't configured for this pipeline, you would have to like create your new SNS topic, then just put the ARN here, and then leave the rest. You can require approval summary, but I'm just going to leave that and click on done. So we have the manual approval before the deployment to to production. So I'm going to click on done, and I'm going to save this. So saving your changes cannot be undone. Yes, we want this. I'm going to click on save. So pipeline was saved successfully. So this didn't run. So we're just going to come back to, I'm going to trigger the actual deployment by going to GitHub. I'm coming to the index.html file. And now that from our test or our development environment, we can see, okay, there's a change we need to make. So I'm just going to come here and update this email to the correct email. And I'm going to click on edit this file. Then I'm going to find Gmail. So this is the mail. So mail to ifelolud@gmail.com. This is my email address. And I'm going to commit the change. Actually, I didn't fix the formatting, it fixed the email. Fix the email itself. But I think, yeah. Okay, fix email link. This is actually what happened. So extended description, I updated the email address to my correct email. So directly to main branches, commit changes. Too late. So let's head back to the pipeline, close. So this should be updated right now. So if I should refresh this, okay, so the pipeline or action rule does not have permission to publish to SNS. So I'm going to have to edit the rule and add SNS permissions here. So I'm going to attach policy. I'm going to click on SNS. I'm just going to say SNS full access because it's actually going to send in some notifications. So just to keep it simple, once again, we are supposed to be more careful with the permissions we give various services. So now that we've granted permissions, we can see that it's actually asking for approval. So if I reject, or let me just approve this and I submit this, it's actually going to deploy to production. And once again, in a couple of minutes, I should be able to watch the change execute on this production application environment. So I refresh once again. So it's still deploying. So now that it has been deployed successfully, once I refresh this, I should have my actual. One last thing I want to mention is the SNS notification. So if you look at this email, you can see some details from the code pipeline that was sent to the email. Don't mind that new subscriber, it was a notification I created beforehand. But looking at the details, you can see the time, start pipeline execution, execution ID, and some other details for each of the executions. You have the trigger and some other details. So for approvals, you can see the approval needed, the following approval action is waiting your response, and you can see the pipeline. And then so this is a notification on for the user to actually go and either approve or reject the function. So this is the pipeline or architecture which we've just created from the source and the other integrations connecting to the Beanstalk environment of dev and test and deploying to each of them respectively. So when you verify that your application runs correctly on your development environment and everything checks out, you can now decide to either approve or reject the deployment to production.